Welcome everybody, Steve here. Today I'm going to show you how to, what I do to replace a countertop in a bathroom. Now, we didn't decide to build one. We went to one of the big box stores and bought one because, you know, they're pretty nice. Of course, you're limited to what, you know, they have for a laminate, but it's got a really nice bull-nosed, you know, front on it, and it's finished quite nicely. And even for myself, you know, I build these tops all the time, but I still prefer this. It's seamless, you don't have a little edge on there, and they're relatively inexpensive. But when you buy it, you've got to cut it down to size, and you've got to make sure that it's going to fit in the right spot. Normally in a bathroom, when you put something down like this, you've got yourself a bit of a backsplash. So you've got a little bit of leeway on your edges, and you can do kind of a rough cut up against the wall. But when you size it, this side over here, where we have to finish it with another piece of laminate, it has to be really, really nice. So I'm going to show you a DIY way of cutting that. Because not everybody underneath here, I got a big table saw. I've got my outfeed table's way out here, and I can make this cut, and it's not a big deal. But most people don't even have an outfeed table that long, and you're gonna have to kind of figure out how to cut it. Now, this particular case, I've got a slab here. It doesn't have the backsplash. I don't really like those, so I prefer the tile backsplash, and that's what we're going to do in this case. And then we're going to cut in a hole here for the sink. And you know, I have the old one over here. If you are just building a bathroom down in your basement or something like that, you know, you just have to take some measurements, make sure that your sink's in the right spot. But in this particular case, I've actually got some measurement, so I'll be able to get it fairly close. And we're going to put a new sink in there, so I don't really have to trace that one out, but we'll get to that later. Next step, I've got this cut out already. And, you know, I have to put this in, we have to finish this in. So when you do go to the box store, well, okay, we'll just pause for a second. Let me find that end, and then you can see what I've got going on. So this is the extra little thing that you have to buy here. Yeah, there's a filler, because we have to fill this in over here, and then just a chunk of laminate. They've got two pieces, one for either side, but on that side it's up against the wall, so we don't have to worry about doing that side. But they don't know which side goes up against the wall, so you get both. Now they give you some nails here, but I'm going to use a brad nailer and a little bit of glue and a couple strips of laminate. Now, of course, you can buy this exact slab, you know, with the backsplash on it already, so that's what this extra little piece is for. But we're going to cut that off. And basically, to cut this stuff, just use a pair of scissors. I'll be right back. This isn't your typical laminate. It doesn't really cut that well with a pair of scissors, but it works. Still nice stuff. And the nice thing about this kind of a system here is it's a glue on the back, and all you have to do is iron it on. So you got to make sure that you're nice and clean here. I made my cut, and if you're a little bit rough on your cut, you can take a sanding block and just block it. And then all we do is iron this on. But first, we got to put this strip on. Goes like yonder. So we got to mark it to length. So I'm going to find a pencil here. That's the top. Just cut her to length. Okay, we're all set up here. Now one of the things when you're nailing this stuff on is make sure that you got the right size nail in your nail gun. Now you can say, well, my nail's going to be 1/8 of an inch from the edge or from the top, but it's going to go into this particle board a little ways and it's going to leave a dimple on your laminate on the top. So mine, I've got basically just a little 1 inch, because your glue, I'm gluing it, so the glue is going to do the holding. So it's only going to go in about 3/8 of an inch, so there's no chance that it's going to go and make a dimple. Just put a little bit of glue on there. Come on. Make sure she's as flush as it can get. You only got one chance. Well, you don't. You can pull it apart. Let's get a little more hose here. Wipe any of the excess glue off. We're good. Now we can glue the edge on. I got my iron all heated up here. Make sure you've got your proper overhang here. Can't really screw that up. They give you a pretty big piece. Basically just get started on one end. So use my other hand so you can see what's going on here. Now you can feel the backside on your overhang, see how tacky the glue is. Want to make sure that it's hot enough. And what I normally do is just take a piece of paper towel or something like that and just rub it so that it's gonna adhere. And once that glue is cool, she's not coming off. Piece of paper towel just kind of makes it so that the cut's going to be, you know, not as deep. It's a pretty sharp edge. Want to make sure that our edges are good. That's good. Yeah, that looks really good. So time to trim this. Now, if you don't have a little router, you can use a razor blade or you could use a pair of scissors. Leave it a little bit proud and then just use a sanding block. Sand it down until it's flush, but make sure that you're not sanding straight. You don't want to sand it into your laminate, but I'm sure you're not going to do that. A little bit of an angle. You got to finish it off on a little bit of an angle anyway. But I do have a router, and a little trick here, if you do have a router, that bearing has to ride on your laminate. And that can burn your laminate. So what I do, I just take a little cooking oil and just run it along my laminate here as a bit of a lube. That way, the bearing won't burn into my laminate. Get some hearing protection and a mask. I'll be right back. Now the router doesn't make it perfect, so what I like to do is just use a file. At a bit of an angle. Till it feels nice and smooth. You know, it's a little rough up here. We got a little bit of glue that seeped out. Let's give that a bit of a scratch. Doesn't take too much. Well, you can use a block with some sandpaper too. If you don't have a file. Make sure there's no sharp edges. Here's a done deal. Okay, we got the end capped. Looks good. Now, when I cut my slab, I always leave about 1/8 of an inch extra. And that 1/8 of an inch is going to be for this wall over here, because there's never ever a straight wall. It's pretty well impossible to have a straight wall. It can be straight to begin with, but you know, you have drywall mud and all that other stuff, so you're gonna have to scribe that. And if you're putting some tile on there, you know, you've got a little bit of leeway. You might not have to do it. But there are some really, really bad walls, and you may end up having to cut 1/4 of an inch out. So in my particular case, I've got just about 1/8 of an inch. I've got to take off this one side over here. Just going to run on a piece of masking tape, and that little 1/8 inch now will be taken up, and it's going to work out perfect. But it's really nice if you can try it. And you know, I've actually seen bathrooms where we've had almost 1/2 an inch, and if you cut your slab to length and then have to scribe another 1/2 inch out there, now you're going to be short on your end and very disappointed. So give it a little test first, because nothing in this world is perfect and you're going to have to deal with that. So let's deal with this. Now I just have to take off maybe just a little less than 1/8 of an inch on this one corner here. So I've kind of just feathered it all out. Now, some walls are so bad that you may end up having to take out up to 1/4 of an inch. And if you have to do that, then you probably use a saw. I'm using a belt sander here. But be careful, because if you're going to not have any you've got a little leeway if you've got tile, because if you get a little chip on the side, your tile is going to cover it. And If you don't, then you might want to cut it upside down with a skill saw if you've got excess. But with this little bit, best tool is the belt sander. That didn't take very long at all. I think it's a 60 grit on here. Another option, if you have to cut a whole bunch off of this, you could use a jigsaw with a reverse blade on it. I love these reverse blades. They work really, really nice. Get a good quality one, pays off. And then that will eliminate any chipping if that's a concern to you. This is the sink that we're putting in. Should be fairly close to the old one, so might be not too bad. Oh, there's a nice piece of cardboard. It's keeper. Might be not too bad to put in. Now the old sink was a metal one, and this one here is porcelain. And it should come with a tin plate. That's a heavy box, that's nice. I collect boxes. So this is the template comes with. So I'm going to cut this out and see how it matches up with the old one. I can see that it's slightly different, but we can figure out where center is, all that kind of stuff. I want to put the sink back, almost try and get it as close as possible to the original. That way I don't have to really monkey around too much with the plumbing. Let's get her cut out. Let's find some scissors. Now I got some lines on here, so it's really easy to center out. And I know that I need to be 16 inches to center. Looks good. And of course the sink is going to be a little bit different, but that's okay. And I'm just kind of ballparking where it is on the front. I've measured. And it looks like we're going to be pretty darn close here. So I'm going to just tape this down, and then we can trace it. So it's not going to go anywhere. Did all those measurements, you don't want to move. And we'll double check, and we'll just draw around it, cut it out, and we're done. I double checked, and now we just take and draw around our pattern. This is nice when you're replacing a sink, you get a nice pattern. If you're just laying, you know, the old one over top, you're better off just take a pattern off the old one. Put a piece of cardboard down. Just makes your life a little easier. And that's what life's about. Being easy. Looks pretty good. Got everything clear here. Got my stand underneath this side. So I'm just going to drill a hole. Now you're thinking, well, what's he doing using an electric drill? Well, cordless ones are at the job site, so that's just the way it goes. You just want to drill a hole, and then you go find a battery. cut it out with a jigsaw. Simple. I move my stand over just to kind of hold it up. Done. Well, they give you lots of room. And that's all there is to her. That wasn't bad at all. Take your time so that you don't screw this up. It's pretty simple to do anyway. So next step, of course, is to install this. I'll try and get you a picture of what it looks like when it's all done. But anyway, I'm happy. That's one more step done in this renovation. And now we can move on to the next one. So thanks for watching. Stay tuned. So if you don't have a nice big table saw, you can use your skill saw to cut your countertop. Now a skill saw blade, you know, runs like this, depending on which way you're looking at it. But if you cut it with the top up, with your laminate up, you're going to get some chipping because the blade's going up. So what you have to do, flip it, cut it upside down. Now, on this one, I have a lip. So what I've done is just put a sacrificial piece of plywood down, okay? And my fence is gonna run along my level. So all you do is you find your mark, your length that you need, and then you're gonna have to kind of figure out, every saw is different. You're just gonna need to do a measurement from here to the edge of your blade, and then just make that mark so that you can line up your straight edge. Now, the better the blade, the better the cut. This one here is just a construction blade, and if you want to do, you know, a really nice cut, get something with a little bit more, with some more teeth on it, and that'll give you a little finer cut. Okay, so I have a mark, and what we want to do is we want to make sure this thing is square. We get a couple clamps here. Oh, sure, always happens. Too many things in the way. Now you only want to make this cut once, so check, check, double check. Make sure everything's right.
And as you can see, it gives you a nice clean cut.